While our nation struggled, Florida thrived.
1,000 people move to Florida every day.
Southwest Florida is ranking all the way at the top of a list of the best inexpensive places to live.
Doesn't America deserve the same? To defeat Biden and restore our country, America needs leadership. We need Ron DeSantis. Ron to the rescue, paid for and is responsible for the content of this ad.
But would Governor DeSantis have what it takes to go up against former President Trump? Here to weigh in, let's welcome in the host of Dick Morris Democracy, Dick Morris. Dick, would there be a Trump-DeSantis race, and in your opinion, who would win that primary?
Well, I don't think it'll come to that. I think DeSantis will decide to prolong his political career and not end it in 24, but instead run in 28 and win. The poll that I think Leonard, your correspondent there, quoted is not really the definitive one. The best one is one that lists all the candidates, and it shows Trump ahead by 47-33 ahead of DeSantis. And that's just registered Republicans. When you drill down to likely voters, his lead is even larger. So DeSantis faces a choice between a step that would destroy him politically and one that would preserve him to fight again in the future.
Wanted to talk to you about something going on within some of the conservative establishment, if you will. There are multiple news outlets that are going after the former president. New York Post, for instance, had a front cover last week picturing the former president as Humpty Dumpty. Do we have that picture? Because I don't want to just talk about it unless we can show it. Do we have it? Yes? No? Okay, there we go. Well, this is another one. And actually, Florida Man Makes Announcement was after the president made his announcement, kind of trivializing what was going on there. And here's some sound from one of the Fox hosts being posed to the former president's, Laura Trump. Here's what the question was. Okay, we do not have that, but essentially we are seeing some of the networks that have in the past been fairly strong in support of Mr. Trump, to a lot of eyes are changing their approach and appear to some be favoring the current governor of Florida. And your thoughts on that? Well,
again, I don't want to be one of these woke people that fights with you over the pronouns, but the pronoun, the singular pronoun, the plural pronoun there is wrong. It is not a number of outlets and a number of people changing their minds. It's one guy, Rupert Murdoch, and his puppets. And as a result of Murdoch's flipping, because he resented that Trump didn't let him run the White House when Trump was president, the New York Post, the Wall Street Journal, and most importantly, Fox News have flipped completely and now are anti-Trump. Fox still tolerates Hannity and Laura Ingraham and some others in prime news because they're too popular to drop. But in the daytime programming and in most of the evening programming, they condemn Trump every chance they get and are using DeSantis to try to stop Trump. Don't think this is a DeSantis boomlet. Most of these people have never met DeSantis and know nothing about him. This is the Democratic Party working with the anti-Trump rhino establishment to try to gut Donald Trump when he's running for a second term. Right. And I don't think it's politically significant. I just think that it's an example of media manipulation.
All right, Dick Morris, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting
the truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
for real people.